the 49ers and what Dorsey Levens was. Like, dude used to get on my nerves, man. I couldn't stand Dorsey Levens.
I guess I was still young at that point. I was still a little bit too young. Like, I got it. Like, I understood players and like the dudes. But I was like early years of high school where I was like, I didn't see the game the same, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was always those players that I hated, but my memories of the Packers and the Niners was the Steve
So
Young.
it was a real okay. There might be game kind of back to this end. As you can tell, I'm going live right now. Crock, I'm telling you, what did it say? Hold on. Crock, I'm telling you, my brother, I'm not letting Shannon off the hook. Oh, Shanahan. We're gonna talk about all that. But
it's gonna be a juicy one today. I have a feeling it's gonna be juicy today.
Yeah, you know, I'm mad I didn't cut up the clips. We gotta get the clips going. But with Shanahan and LaFleur, it's almost like that rivalry. I think that's gonna turn into a rivalry. Did you see what happened after the game?
I did, and I was trying to figure out because during the game they had mentioned LaFleur, like everybody knows the backstory. If you don't know the backstory, like the guys coach together, they're buddies. Yeah. Basically the same dude, right? Like these young, upcoming coaches that are going to be running the league for a long time. Realistically, it's what's going to happen. And same with McVay. And I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But as far as like the agents, they might even have the same damn agents. I got to look back into it too. I think they do. But I had to go back to Twitter to the Mike Silver post where he started going down like the draft. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where he started talking about the draft conversations and, you know, LaFleur's brother and Saleh and the FaceTime conversation and this, that, and the other thing. So I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's going to be as interesting as the Harbaugh backslap against the Lions, but
this one was pretty close because, and I'm looking at it and I'm just reading their body language. LaFleur, because you can't really see Kyle, at least in the little small clip that I saw. LaFleur doesn't even look Kyle in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are dudes that are supposed to be homies or whatever their situation was or is, but it ain't that right now. They ain't cool. You play against your boy and or whatever they are, and you get to middle field and like even with me and my homies, like I got Donald sitting right here. We are both ultra competitive. Like, I want to beat him at everything. He wants to beat me at everything. But, like, during the battle, like, this is war, right? When we're at MJC and I'm at corner, he's at receiver, like, this is a battle. This is war. Me and VA, like, this is war, right? Me and VA, Vince Andrews, like, this is two big dogs going at it. But afterwards, it's all love. There was no love lost in that. That handshake or whatever that was, no eye contact, just like, hey, good job. And not even look at each other. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty.
And I don't even know if it was a good job. Like, I want to know what was said. I don't know if one of us mic'd up, and we'll hear later on down the road. Probably not, because the agents will cut it out at some point. Nobody's going to let them actually hear what was said.
It looked like it was just a quick, like, good game. Like, that's it.
To me, it's like when you play your brother and pick up basketball, and he beats you in 21 or beats you, and you walk by, you both got to go in the house, and he gets in the house before you, and you walk by him, and you give him like the FU type of thing. That's kind of how it was.
That's what that was.
It's exactly what it was. And I'm almost positive. I think they were roommates when they were GAs, weren't they? They were GAs together. I don't know if they were roommates when they were GAs together. But anyways, they go back. The history goes back. It'll be fun to watch those two obviously battle. Shanahan has whooped his ass the last couple times they've played. And I didn't go into last night expecting it was going to be the same, especially with the running back situation the way it was. The defensive backfield, the whole nine. We'll get into that stuff. So,
right. So let's introduce this show, man. It's QB Monday on Crock Talk TV. I appreciate everybody coming on. As always, I am the host at Eric_Crocker on Twitter, and I'm always joined every Monday for the most part, unless I'm coming back from Philadelphia, with my guy Greg Panelli at Greg_Panelli. Somebody said Josh Allen is still MVP. Josh Allen. So before we get into the 49ers, we're going to get to the 49ers quarterback play, some quarterback play around the league. Some of these young guys, and like, I want to get your perspective on just what they're looking, what are they going through? Even if you haven't like just dove in and watched them, it feels like a lot of them are going through some of the same issues throughout the week. But first, Josh Allen, week one, had a stinker against Pittsburgh. I'm like, man, like this, this guy's coming off of an MVP caliber season. And then even game 2, where they blew a team out, but if you just kind of like look at his numbers, they weren't great at all, a little bit more pedestrian. But I thought he's, last game that he played yesterday showed he's kind of coming around a little bit. Kind of, what are your thoughts so far on the start from Josh Allen?
I was almost petty enough to wear a Josh Allen jersey today on here, just because of the fact that they won yesterday and the Niners lost last night. So I almost wore the jersey, but I would have caught some help. But
Yeah.
I think it's the overreaction stuff. The week 1 and 2, like, yeah, I know this because I talk to him on a weekly basis. Like, he knows when he's not playing well or what he needs to do better. He's confident enough, like, going into this weekend. I won't say exact words, but he knew what he needed to do going into this weekend. I talk to him every Thursday and Friday. Usually we'll play some Call of Duty on Fridays just to, once they get out of practice, and kind of lax a little bit and hang out and talk. And don't talk much about football, but he was excited going into this weekend and knew that he had obviously some things that he needed to not necessarily prove, but prove to himself, I guess, and show that he's still playing at a high level. And, it's not going to be a week 1 and 2 thing every week. So Josh is, the guy can play. And what you get with a guy like that, what you get with a guy like Mahomes, what you get with even a guy like Herbert, because I feel like Herbert's going to kind of be like that next dude that's probably going to be or that is a very similar player to those two guys. Still young, somewhat gunslinger type of dudes that are more confident with their arms probably than a lot of other people. They're going to try and fit balls into windows that a lot of other people won't. So I think that was kind of the thing weeks 1 and 2. Like, he maybe, and I didn't ask him about it, but maybe he was feeling some type of way as far as, pressure coming off the contract, off season expectations, etc. But they're professional athletes. So if I had to take a guess, I wouldn't say he was. But, I think he's seeing the field a lot better going into this week. I think Pittsburgh, the thing that I'll say with the Bills, and I said this last year, and I would say it to his face, and he knows that, like, everybody asks me, it's like every week, because obviously he's like a little brother. So it's like my wife will ask me or my friends will ask me, it's like, what's going on with the Bills or what's going on with Josh? If you break down the Bills offense, Josh, from probably after they played the Chiefs on that Monday, Tuesday game, whatever the hell it was, like at 3:00 last year, because it was a makeup game from the COVID. I don't even remember what it was. Ever since that game, the offense has been heavily on Josh. Now, it might sound cliche. Well, yeah, of course it's going to be on the quarterback, but they have to be able to establish a run game. Just like last night, when you got a quarterback like Josh that is able to throw the ball downfield, and then he's doing that stuff with his legs as well, and doesn't have any running back help, when you go deep into the playoffs, those better teams are going to take advantage of that. And the week 1 against the Steelers, they took advantage of it. Like, I think Josh had more rushing yards than the running back, or close to it. That's not going to work every week. So they got to figure out a way to really alleviate some stress from him. It can't be all on his shoulders. And I don't care who you are. It couldn't be like that with Rodgers. They couldn't win a Super Bowl like that. Mahomes couldn't win a Super Bowl like that. Like, it can't all be on the quarterback. You got to be able to establish some type of ground game. And it can't be a thing where, like last year in playoffs, Ravens, Josh was the leading rusher, I think, against the Ravens when they played in the playoffs. The Chiefs the next week, it was the same thing. He's running for more yards than the running backs. So that's what's going to be tough. I think if they can establish a solid run game, I think they're going to be able to make some serious runs over the next couple of years. Hold on, Crock. We can't hear you. I can't hear you, at least.
Oh, my bad. I was muted. Got the background noise. You know what I'm saying? They're over here about to build my facility.
Out in the background.
You said what?
Donald Wilder now in the background.
Nah, he's just chilling. I think he been watching like all these little things on like how to bet, like on games and stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, so he watches all that, takes up like all this information. I'd say a good amount of times he still loses. I don't know. I can't tell. It's kind of, but the betting stuff, I had to stop betting. I don't know if y'all bet. I'll do like little stuff like Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys download the app. Promo code Crocky. They'll throw an additional $10 into your account. All right, but I don't bet a whole lot anymore because I realized I either like just it either evens out or I lose. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very I haven't had too many times, and maybe I'm just not betting enough money where I just came up. You know what I'm saying? But even when I did come up, the amount of money I lost before coming up, it still ends up like evening out. So I was just like, you know what? I think the best part of betting is just the rush that you get and the thrill of watching the games, and it just makes every moment more important.
Right.
I think when it comes to betting, like that's probably the biggest thing. But if you were a betting man, what would you think is the biggest issue, or what would you put money on? That's the biggest issue with the 49ers and their offense right now, because, you know, people don't, it's like, do we place the blame on Kyle Shanahan? Do we place the blame on Jimmy Garoppolo? I think there are certain things you can point to. The 4th and 1 that Kyle decided not to go for and punt. Okay, matter of fact, let's start with that. Kyle decided to punt on 4th and 1.
From midfield, roughly.
From midfield. In an era where everybody is going for it on 4th and short.
And Kyle typically does too.
So why would you not? Like, why would you, if you were Kyle, what's the one thing in your head where you're like, you know what? I'm going to punt the ball away.
Just from the simple fact that the Packers offense was essentially moving the ball at that point, and you really want to give Aaron Rodgers the ball at the 50-yard line and risk down another 7 points right off the bat or in the second quarter. Whatever. It was in the second quarter, wasn't it? I forget. First or second quarter.
It was the second quarter. But shouldn't it be more about what you're capable of doing from an offensive standpoint than the defense? So my mind kind of went more towards how much trust does he have in Jimmy Garoppolo and his offense right now?
That's the thing is, I think that he trusts Jimmy. I don't think he trusts the run game very much yesterday. As we saw in the first couple drives sucked. Obviously, 3 and outs were terrible, right? But you go back to Shanahan, especially against the Packers, like especially against these good teams, where give the ball to Juice, let Jimmy sneak it, whatever it may be. But like he would always take those risks, and he'd be like, I don't know about this, and then we get it, 4th and 4, 4th and 3, and he's going for it. You know, like I love it. This is a different style of football versus the let's just 4th and 1, we're going to punt it away. I think, in my opinion, I watched it and I'm thinking, why are we not going for it right here? Like, this is an opportunity. This is to gain some momentum. Like, let's get the 4th and 1 and keep it rolling. You know, especially with offense we got where you can use check out in the flat and then Kittle behind, do like a little levels type of thing. But I don't understand that. That was one that kind of didn't make sense to me. I think at the end of the day, you know, there's a bunch of – if I was a betting man and said, what was the blame? Do I place the blame on the 4th and 1? Do I place the blame on Shanahan? You know, it was just a combination of shitty things that happened over the night, right? Like Jimmy started slow. We get that. Like the Niners got outscored in only one quarter last night. I think it was the first quarter. That was the only quarter they got outscored in last night. So the starting slow sucked. Obviously the Packers came out hot. The Niners sucked the first quarter. Then I think it was even throughout there for the most part. But you know, I talked about it last night on the Twitter live. Like there was a couple times where Jimmy could have got out of the pocket early, wide open lanes for him to scramble, and he didn't take them. He tries to force a ball over the top and changes arm angle, and ball gets tipped, and then another one gets tipped off the hands and almost picked off. Like those, from a quarterback perspective, are plays like he's going to go back and watch it. Like, damn, I could have rolled out to the right, extended the play, maybe got a defender to suck up, and then dump it over the top of him or something like that. Like those are frustrating to me. Where you look at the elite quarterbacks, the next level guys, that's what they're doing. And I'm not saying Tom Brady. I'm talking about the younger generation of quarterbacks, the Mahomes, the Joshes, the Herberts, the Kyler Murrays, the Russell Wilsons, like Aaron Rodgers. Those guys would have been gone out the pocket. No questions asked. Like you see it every week they do it, and they're extending plays. Right. I would have liked to have seen that. And there's a few times where like we've seen it, and Jimmy can do that. It's not like that's just a normal quarterback play of sensing pressure from the outside. The pocket starts to collapse, push up, and get out. Like we work that stuff every week when we're doing quarterback training, and he didn't do it yesterday, so that kind of frustrated me. But
what do you think about and we didn't talk last week because I was on my way back from Philadelphia, but Jimmy Garoppolo, I thought last week, and I remember you talking to me about layered throws, right? And he missed a couple of layered throws. From the stands when I was watching, I just thought Jimmy was just airmailing passes. And I'm like, man, how you miss this guy? Like, he's open. And then I watch the replay and I see, like, oh, I see the flat defender. He's trying to get it over the flat defender and get it down. And it just never came down. It sailed. So it happened on 2 out routes, one to Sanu, one to Sherfield, and then one over the middle to Brandon Ayuk. I didn't see how many times he attempted any layered throws last night, but I did see one late in the game to Deebo Samuel near in the red zone where he got it up, down. And I know most people are like, oh, that ball was high. And I'm like, well, it was high because he's trying to get it over that underneath defender there. Have you seen any difference in kind of Jimmy Garoppolo's play in the sense of from, previous years? Let's go back to 2019 and what that looked like. 2020, we know, like, up and down, and he had the injuries and stuff. And then now 2021, have you seen any progression with how he plays from a consistency standpoint?
I think it's all very similar. I think it like a lot of the routes that we're seeing, it's stuff that we've talked about. Good over the middle. There was like a few times last night where it's like, Jimmy, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're trying to sneak a ball in and there's a low safety hanging there with a backer, or you got a nickel trail in and there's a safety that's coming downhill. Like, he tried to fit a few in late in the game, kind of like bonehead throws. And we lucked out that they weren't obviously picked off or that the receiver wasn't killed. Some receivers made some strong catches. Like Deebo made a couple strong catches last night. I think if you look at his body language, just from a quarterback training perspective, like quarterback coach perspective, some of those layered throws that you watch Jimmy make where he'll throw it and he'll throw it and he's almost leaning back and falling out of the throw. He'll get a little bit lower and the ball starts to sail on him. And you look at some of these other guys that execute those layered throws, and he's doing it with not necessarily a ton of pressure in his face. Like, there was a couple where he had a ton of pressure, but there was a few where he could have stepped into it, layered it, where it's more just kind of releasing it sooner and turning the ball over, and then that it'll turn over for you, where he was falling out of it, tipping his shoulders, and now he's sailing that ball. And that's what happened on that one to Deebo, where he kind of fell out of it a little bit and threw that ball with a little bit of a lower arm slot, in my opinion. I think that what the Jimmy that we saw last night has been the Jimmy that we saw that we've been used to seeing. Was he perfect? No. Was he terrible? A couple drives he wasn't great. I wouldn't say he was terrible. And at the end of the game, like, there's a few plays that are questionable, like a few throws that are questionable that we got away with. And that's kind of been Jimmy's game. Like, when we beat the Seahawks a few years ago, like, there was a couple throws towards the end of the game on the comeback. Like, what the hell are we doing? Like, we lucked out on that throw and it wasn't picked off, or it was dropped, or whatever it may be. And then he'll go down and score, and like everybody forgets about it, right? And you're like, okay, well, he did his job. We scored a touchdown. We forgot about it. So, I think that he's been the one thing I'll say is it's been consistent play. Like, what he does, it's consistent. Like, it's almost a week to week thing where it's like, okay, like sometimes he doesn't have to make those throws and we don't even notice them. But when he does, the ones that he misses are kind of the same ones he misses on a consistent basis, if that makes sense. Where it's not always perfect. So, and I'm sure you're going to talk about the Trey Lance stuff, and everyone's going to say, well, why not Trey? Why not Trey? We'll talk about that stuff here shortly when we talk about the rest of the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I will say one thing that kind of works in Jimmy Garoppolo's favor is, and why he's the guy that's out there, aside from, and we'll get to some of these younger guys like you just said, but Jimmy Garoppolo, the consistency that you do get from him is he's all, for the most part, typically going to have you in position to at the very least win the game, right? And more times than not, and especially if you look at his record with Kyle Shanahan or Kyle Shanahan's record with Jimmy as opposed to without it, there's a stark difference in the amount of wins, right? Like, because Kyle Shanahan throughout his career as a head coach, he has a losing record. But his wins, for the most part, have all come with Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo's win-loss record is really pretty good. I think he does enough good things, but like you said, probably not great. And I think sometimes it's going to stand out when he has to go toe-to-toe with an Aaron Rodgers. And you have to try to go throw for throw with A-Rod, like, or
Mahomes
play for play with Mahomes, play for play with now Matthew Stafford. Like, that's going to happen. Play for play with against Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and I think Kyle does a good enough job for the most part of scheming up things and giving Jimmy an offense that he can execute that can result to wins. But there's always going to be those weird kind of moments, especially when he's going against another really talented guy. I was on Twitter and there's this guy Josiah Johnson that I follow. He's funny. He's always posting funny stuff, but he's a basketball guy. But he had tweeted out this video and he said 49ers need this guy to beat Green Bay. When clearly, I mean, we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo beat Green Bay twice. But he was like, 49ers need this guy to beat Green Bay. And it was Colin Kaepernick. And it was Colin Kaepernick in the playoffs. And one thing I noticed about Colin Kaepernick in those games is he matched A-Rod play for play. All right, you're going to make a throw? Okay, I'm going to make a throw. I'm going to make a big run. He had multiple touchdown passes to Michael Crabtree that were darts, like a dart. Like he had a deep ball to Vernon Davis that just floated right into his hands over the defender. He had the big runs, right? Broke the record. And the biggest thing I took away from that was Colin Kaepernick is making plays and he's playing at a high enough level to match the elite opponent's quarterback play for play. And I think that's the part right there where Jimmy Garoppolo struggles with, where at the end of the day, because I think the 49ers are well coached, regardless, I know everybody's calling for Kyle Shanahan's head and D'Amico Ryans. I think the 49ers are a very well coached team, but you're going to need your quarterback to be able to kind of match the elite guy like a Aaron Rodgers. And that's just really difficult when you have Jimmy Garoppolo.
Especially when the run game is not necessarily there. You got to figure out other ways to move the ball. Right. And the Niners offense obviously works a lot off the run game. Hence, look at the second half. We come out, the run game works on the first drive. And they end up scoring a touchdown. So when the run game is working, and that's how the West Coast offense is built. And we've all known that. And for people that watch football, like that's how the West Coast offense is built. When you have a stellar run game, a lot of things work off it. When you don't, puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback to move the ball. So, like I said, Jimmy is consistent. From that, I'll give him that. Like, he's consistent. Week in and week out, he kind of does the same stuff. Whether it's good or bad, he's doing the same shit over and over again, right? And if you take the names away, right, from a lot of NFL quarterbacks from the time that he's been in the league, take their names away and put them on a stat sheet, right? And you look at the win-loss records and the stats throughout. He's going to be probably top 10 as far as what people would pick as far as quarterbacks on their team.
Right.
Take away the name. People would say, okay, I want that record with the amount of passes he's throwing, with the touchdowns he's throwing, et cetera, et cetera. Like a lot of people he would probably be up there in the top 10 for a lot of people to pick. But then you see, okay, it is Jimmy Garoppolo. Then you start trying to figure out, okay, well, it's because he's in this offense and the run game is working and Shanahan's doing this and that. Like I still think, and I think a lot of people that actually watch would agree that Jimmy is the best option. Like if people were saying last night, like I said, Trey Lance will come in at some point or another. He did come in at some point or another, right? He ended up scoring a touchdown. Like I figured we were going to see that package deal with him. But to say, okay, Trey Lance, go in for a quarter, let's see what you can do, I think is still stretching like the realistic truth here as far as we won't know until we see it. But again, it's got to be a full game from him too. Like just because it might click for one quarter and he's feeling himself, it's how are we going to carry that through the rest of the season? And Jimmy has proved that he can do that. Now, I would like to continue to see more of the packages. I would like to see more of the package stuff from the midfield. Like I thought it would have been legit yesterday if they came out first drive of the game, Jimmy's in the first play, boom, throw Trey Lance in and throw him off. Let's see what they do. I thought it was well played when the Packers called a timeout on the goal line, and then immediately Trey Lance goes in the game. Because they clearly weren't ready for it, right? They saw the look of the Niners, what they come out and called timeout, boom, Trey Lance goes in the game. Like, that is solid coaching to me, as far as what Shanahan did. And then, obviously, it was a race to the corner with Lance. Who was it? Trent made a hell of a freaking pancake block, leading block. DB wanted no part of it. Should have just moved out of the way because he's going to get killed on film all week for that. But I don't think, people might, hate me for it, but in all reality, let's go look at the other quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. I said this from the start when we started doing this podcast, like Zach Wilson. That was not the issue there in New York. The quarterback play was not the issue in New York.
Sam Darnold,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
That's what we were saying. Because I know I said it. I actually, and people killed me for this, but I was like, I would not draft Zach Wilson. I would keep Sam Darnold, build around him, use that number 2 overall pick to either trade back, acquire more talent, go all in on free agency. If I was Robert Saleh, I don't want a rookie quarterback. I don't want to have to attach myself to this rookie quarterback right now. Give me Sam Darnold. Give me the veteran. Let me just build around him and put him in this Kyle Shanahan 49ers offense and watch how he works off of that, right? And we're seeing now, and I'm not saying that Sam Darnold has played the best of competition or whatever, right? He's played a couple of teams that's like, whatever, played the Jets, one of those games. But Sam Darnold's 3-0, and he's playing well. I saw a stat that said in the last 40 games or something crazy like that, he had 300-yard passing games. In 3 games right now, he has 2. Right, like he's playing his best football that he's played, and you see the talent, and he still doesn't have an offensive line. He's getting hit every play, but you see the ability. And you look at some of these young guys, and you're starting to talk about Zach Wilson, but everybody just thought Zach Wilson's going to be better than Sam Darnold, and I think they're thinking too much. They're not thinking with context of the problems with some of these organizations or with some of the ways that these teams are built. So now you have a Zach Wilson who's out there and he feels like he has to make every play. He has to make every throw. He has to play hero ball, and he looks like shit. And this is what it looked like with Sam Darnold because he had to do some of the same things.
Yeah, it's a product of what they have on the team, and I agree with you. I think Sam Darnold was good enough to win games, obviously, there in New York. Now, they didn't win a ton of games, but you see now, he's on another team. They're winning games, 3-0. It wasn't the quarterback play there wasn't their biggest problem. And like you said, with Saleh, why would you really want to go into especially New York, where the Jets are lacking at other positions? You're a new head coach. Now you go get a new quarterback that you're hoping can turn things around. But really, that wasn't the position that needed to be turned around in the first place anyway. So you're starting from scratch. So I think that's the issue. Then you go over to Chicago. Net 1 yards passing yesterday, right? I was with
That's
Bray.
Crazy.
I was with Tyler Bray yesterday, his daughter's first birthday. Obviously, Tyler, for those who don't know, Tyler was on the Bears the last 3 years. I've trained him. He doesn't talk much about it. I'm not going to throw him under the bus or anything. But you look at everyone's like Justin Fields. Okay. Well, Justin Fields goes in yesterday. Now, the D-line was on his ass. I get it. But they brought Justin Fields in because he has abilities to extend plays, right? He took 9 sacks yesterday. 9. That's not efficient play from a quarterback perspective. Now you look at Andy, be like, well, the O-line sucked yesterday and the Browns D-line is good. That's fine. But there was teams that they've played before. Again, we're in the NFL, right? Taking 9 sacks against anybody is not going to be – I don't care if it's the greatest defense on earth versus the shittiest offense. 9 sacks is a lot to take in one game. Andy Dalton didn't take 9 sacks the week before. So they're going with people that they think are going to be able to give them the best opportunity currently. Do they think that Justin Fields is probably going to be the guy in the future? Yes. Do I think that Trey Lance will be the guy in the future? Absolutely. Is Zach Wilson going to be the guy in the future? If they give him more to work with, absolutely. But currently, there is a learning curve, and that's why the NFL is the NFL. That's why there's Heisman winners that come out of college every year and shit the bed in the NFL, is because there's a learning curve, or typically those superstar quarterbacks go to shitty teams. Now, we said this from the start too. And all the rookie quarterbacks, Trey Lance is stepping into the best situation because the team is the most complete around Trey Lance, given the time that he's going to step in, right? They're a winning team that is expected to make the playoffs. Granted, we do play in the toughest division. In all reality, all 4 of the NFC West teams should probably be in the playoffs because they're better than half the other, more than half the other teams that are going to make, the NFC or the Cowboys was the East. That division, somebody's going to end up winning that division with freaking 8 wins or 10 wins, maybe, And I'm assuming the Cowboys are probably going to win it this year. But it's the situation with Trey Lance. He will be the guy. When? I don't know. I think we'll continue to see more package stuff out of him. But I couldn't say right now, let's give him the ball in the fourth quarter against the Packers yesterday and expect Trey Lance to go down the field as a rookie and win that game.
And I think one thing that people, or what do you think about this? Because everybody's calling for Trey Lance to come in.
Right.
I'm looking at the comment section right now, the chat, and everybody wants.
Are they killing me right now in the comments? I can't
No,
see.
they're not. They're not killing you. They're just saying it's time for Trey. Jimmy sucks, and I don't think Jimmy sucks, and I don't think it's time for Trey. As someone who wants Trey Lance to play, like I want Trey Lance to play, I want that aspect of it. But I'm watching these other guys around the league, and I'm noticing one thing that's kind of been an issue with these guys, and you kind of pointed out it with Justin Fields, and we watched Justin Fields, and he did have an issue with holding on to the ball too long in college.
Right.
He's definitely doing that as well in the NFL. But he's not the only quarterback that's a rookie that's not sure about what he's seeing on the other side, right? With these NFL defenses and the ways that they are disguising coverages and things like that. So I look at Trey Lance, and do I think that he'd be better? Like, yeah, he's not going to have 1 yard passing in a game. That's crazy. But he had some of those issues in the preseason as well, where he wasn't quite sure what he was seeing. And he threw some errant passes. And he had like a 50% complete. I mean, one game he was 5 for 14. So do we, and again, I see the big play. I see the explosive plays. I see the element where he can use his legs. But do we think that he just magically has already improved with seeing the field from what we saw in the preseason? And I would say no. Now, the issue is how does he improve on it? And I think definitely him playing. The other issue is Kyle Shanahan does not have to play him right now because he has Jimmy. And regardless of what anybody else thinks, and they're saying Jimmy sucks, all that stuff in the comments, like he does not suck. I've seen somebody, well, Jimmy's good enough. I saw a comment in here. Jimmy's good enough to just lose in a close game. He's won more close games than he's lost. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough because we look at last night and we look at, in theory, what Trey Lance is, and I want him to be that guy, and I want him to be out there. I would think the best way to go about it is this, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to throw Trey Lance out there and then have to bring Trey Lance back to the bench.
That's
right. Like that, you don't want that. So if you are going to throw Trey Lance in there, you got to make sure like this is it. Like this is we're riding this out. And I tell you what, Kyle Shanahan, he's not with that because he has 1 winning season in 4 years. He wants to make the playoffs. He doesn't want it to have to be on the legs and arm of his rookie quarterback if he doesn't have to do that. I think the best way to go about this is to start giving Trey Lance a series. Start giving him more plays, more packages, build up to it. And if you start to see a change in his play and what he can handle heading into the bye week, then you make the switch then. But I wouldn't make that switch right now. I wouldn't overreact to a loss against Green Bay when Jimmy did take you down the field. I get everything else that happened, the weird backwards pass fumble thing, just like you said, plays where he probably could take off for a first down but throws it incomplete. Just all I get the aspect of all of that. But at the end of the day, he still had you in position to be able to win the game and had you up with 37 seconds left and no timeouts. Right now, he currently, with what we know, gives you the best chance to win. So you go with him. But I do think there is more to this offense. I do want to ask you about this. With Jimmy Garoppolo, one thing that I saw that was consistent last night, those dudes were driving these underneath routes. Do you think his inability to really threaten teams vertically has hurt not only the passing game and the windows, which seem to be shrinking game by game, but also the running game, where it's been, there just aren't anything. Do you think it's his inability to truly stretch the field?
Yeah, I think that's that historically from any quarterback perspective. Like if you can't extend the field through the air, everybody can play tighter in the box. Why? Because the Niners offense is built around pretty much hash to hash when you look at it, like, or just outside hash to hash, but everything is
just outside, just inside hash.
Like as far as, that's what I meant. And just inside, like a lot of the Niners offense was inside. There's dig routes, there's hook routes inside, like there's spot routes. Like everything that we saw last night was a lot of it was inside. How many outside the numbers throws did you see last night from Jimmy? There wasn't a ton, right? And you know what? Like the refs were, it was a shit show as far as the refs go, the officiating.
Both sides. I'd say
on both sides. Yes, on both sides, as we know. But you look at what the Packers do, they extend the ball down the field. And Aaron Rodgers has done it year after year after year after year. And we, as Niners fans, I guess, haven't been used to seeing it because we've dominated their ass for the last 2 games we played them. We killed them. Like they couldn't do nothing against us, right? We ran at will against them. Jimmy looked great. Like we weren't even in this position. Like by halftime, we're like, this shit's over. You know, they're not coming back. Then we get into it and we start to see, okay, Aaron Rodgers throwing the back shoulder fades. We're playing man coverage on Devontae Adams. Like you're just giving them gifts at that point that put the Niners offense in a shitty position, I think, from a defensive perspective, because why would we be running man against Devontae Adams one-on-one? You're a corner. I have no clue why anybody would want to do that because he's the best receiver in the game. And you're at the best, passing quarterback in the game. It's not going to be a good combination. But at the end of the game, like it helped Jimmy, and this was one of the things like on the downside. I don't want to give more fuel to the fire for the folks. Trey Lance. Like Jimmy lucked out a couple times last night, and one of them was that pass interference where the Ayuk pass interference. Like Jimmy threw a deep ball. Ayuk is falling down. You get an arm on the shoulder, and it's a flag. And then I tweeted out, I was like, that's as good as a deep ball right there. Like Jimmy can't.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you throw the ball down the field.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, we saw that on both sides. Like you are liable to get some weird things that happen to where it might look like a flag and you might get that. So I think there are more positives with throwing down the field than there are negatives. One positive, it makes the defense have to play more honest. Another positive, you might just catch it and have a big play. And the other positive, you can get a pass interference. Most of the time, worst case scenarios is false incomplete. On a rare occasion, it might be intercepted. But there are definitely more benefits to throwing the ball down the field and not having people be able to crowd your line of scrimmage, making life difficult on everybody else. Now I do see some people in the comments, and let me see, where's the question at? Where was it at? It was someone asking me. Okay, here we go. My guy T. Lou. He said, "You're okay with waiting and building chemistry with Trey and our waiting on building chemistry with Trey and our pass catchers. You are wasting a year of development with our group, and Trey will only get better if he plays." This is my thing. I would be all for playing Trey Lance if there was no Jimmy Garoppolo, right? It's really hard to kind of just go through the ups and downs of building that chemistry when you have someone on your roster that's capable of winning games and putting together at least a winning level play, which we've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo. Like you can't say that's not the case with him. So I'm all for. I would if I were the coach, and again, you gotta use context here. It comes back to Kyle Shanahan. He has one winning season in 4 years. So you're almost asking him to risk winning games over, the development of the young guy. How do you go about it? If it were me and you take all that out, or you take the context away, I would say play Trey Lance and live with whatever happens because he's going to be better for it next year. But I don't know if Kyle Shanahan is in a position to do that. Maybe he is. Maybe they had that conversation when they traded up for him. But I think it's a little bit harder for him to just make that decision than it is us sitting on the couch and watching the games.
And I think just to touch on it really quick, and we talked about it earlier too. It's tough because we all, like, trust me, I want to see Trey Lance go out there and just absolutely rip the ball, right? And throw it 65 yards downfield just to show that he can do it and get everybody excited, like, holy hell, look at the throw, right? But at the end of the day, historically, look at rookie quarterbacks that have come into the NFL and have had to play right away. Now, I said that Trey Lance is in the best spot available or best position as far as a team that is built already to win. But Brady, Rodgers, Jimmy G, Steve Young, like a lot of the great quarterbacks, they had to sit their time, right? Like they took their time. Rodgers sat for 2 or 3 years before he.
Well, shoot, Steve Young. You said Steve Young. He actually played right away and was trash and went to like another league and then came back, sat,
Yeah.
and was able to.
So he went to I think you got drafted by the Bucks, right? But they were terrible. Then he comes to the Niners after he plays, like you said. But he was not very good. Then sits behind Joe Montana, and then eventually they got into a predicament where it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? And they sent Joe obviously to the Chiefs, but Brady had to sit behind Bledsoe. Rodgers had to sit behind Favre. Jimmy Garoppolo sat behind Brady for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it was.
Almost
then he
4 years.
over to the Niners, and then Jimmy G shows up in the Niners that were a winless team at the time and wins 6 games straight against a couple of really good defenses. I think one of them was against the Jags. If I recall, I forget. Jags and Titans, wasn't it? 2 big games, something like that. They were fourth quarter comebacks. And at that time, everyone was like, Jimmy G, like he's the savior, right? Well, guess what? If you took a rookie Jimmy G and threw him in there, I don't think he's doing those things. But he got to sit and learn. And what we saw when he did come into the league was exactly what Tom Brady does to everybody every single week. And Jimmy G was dinking and dunking his way, utilizing tight ends all the way down the field and won 6 games straight doing it, right? Now, obviously, people have caught on, and Shanahan's offense hasn't been cooking as of late compared to what it was the Super Bowl year, okay? But I think that it was a blessing for Jimmy G to sit, just like I think that it will be a blessing. As frustrating as it might be to see sometimes with Jimmy G playing, Trey Lance on the bench, and us not throwing him in there at certain times, like Jimmy G put us in a position to win last night. If they win that game, the conversation might be different today. We're 3-0, and we're going to keep on moving. But now, because it's a loss, we're going to overreact a little bit. But I don't think Trey Lance is not out of the conversation for this year. Trey Lance will get more packages. I would like to see Trey Lance from the midfield a little bit more. Give him some of those packages, not just outside zone or inside zone, option plays, whatever it may be. Let's let him throw the ball a little bit. Let's see it. Let's build those things with him. Maybe it is play action, and he is throwing the ball down the field. But let's give him a couple of those, and that'll build some confidence, and then let's do it slowly. I think if you throw Trey Lance in there right now, he sucks. You got to put him back onto the bench, put Jimmy in. What is that going to do to his confidence, and what is that going to do to the team? I don't know, but I don't think Kyle Shanahan wants to risk that at this point.
What would you say to this? So there's a comment there. Kyle does not develop rookies.
I would ask for more context or in what perspective. Rookie quarterbacks, rookies as a whole, because if you look at rookies, Deebo Samuel came into the league as a rookie and absolutely lit it up, right? Brandon Ayuk, there's this conversation going on with him. I don't know what's going to happen. Then we got
caught a few passes and a touchdown last night, so that's not
right.
Not
so
bad outing.
I don't know. I guess I would need more context. Like, what rookies are we talking about?
He might be talking about quarterbacks, but I think that's tough because only so many rookie quarterbacks are good. Like, so first, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but he had 2 quarterbacks, and if you want to kind of give him quote unquote credit for Kirk Cousins, who lit it up against the Seahawks yesterday, he drafted Kirk Cousins. He had RG3. He also had RG3 and coached him to a divisional win and playoff berth as a rookie. RG3 was a rookie. They went to the playoffs. Like, Kyle did that. He was the coordinator. Kirk Cousins, what he has turned into. Now, some of these other guys maybe weren't rookies, but when you look at what he's done with, some of these other guys, like a Matt Schaub, where Matt Schaub was like an elite quarterback with Kyle Shanahan. What he did with Matt Ryan, who Matt Ryan's always been like good, but he took Matt Ryan's game to the next level, like made him an MVP. So I think the tough thing is with saying that Kyle, doesn't develop rookies or rookie quarterbacks, if that's what he means. The sample size is way too small to have a true answer for that. There have been guys. I mean, maybe he's talking about like CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins, if you want to count him his undrafted guy. But I'd say Kyle. I watched CJ Beathard go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football. and we also have seen like the bad from him. And maybe that's just kind of who CJ Beathard is, right?
But CJ Beathard on that Monday Night Football game wins the game, and Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, right? That if we're talking about the same game where they made a comeback, didn't they not?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers came back and who was he throwing into, right? Aaron Rodgers is like, you know what? At the end of the game, I need to score to win this game. I'm just gonna start throwing to Devontae Adams every play. And the 49ers didn't have an answer for it, and they still don't have an answer for it.
Still don't have an answer for it. Like last night, it's like, okay, we go man, we're getting torched. We go zone, fourth quarter or the last drive of the game. What is he doing? Finding holes in the zone. Like he's probably on a damn choice route and just say, find the zone. I'm looking at you because he did not look anywhere else but Devontae Adams. So I don't know. If you were a defensive coordinator, maybe I'm going 2-man and putting the safety over the top. I don't know. Like that's what makes Devontae Adams. And I was being petty last night. I almost tweeted out, but I would have caught hell for it because I'm a quarterback coach. But I was like, you know what? Everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers is so good. He's only good because he's got Devontae Adams. But I was just being petty. I was almost doing it out there last second. I was being petty. But no, it's like that you know what's coming. And we couldn't figure it out. Like Whitner said it last night on the post game, like the offense gave the defense a chance at the end of the game. And everybody sees, okay, 37 seconds left. Let's touch on that really quick. Everybody says the Niners gave them too much time. The Niners gave them I get it. Put yourself on the field, though. Put yourself on a coaching perspective. What do you do at that point? Do you just not score when you have, if you have a lane, if you're a use check, you just not run in the end zone and risk not scoring at that point? Do you not try and score until there's 1 second or 5 seconds left on the clock? That's pretty ballsy. That's a risk. That's a pretty risky move because you're going to want to – the goal is obviously score. It wasn't like we could have kicked the field goal and won the game. We were down 6 points, right? So, if you go down there and you don't score, then you're looking even more stupid because you didn't get in the end zone. So they had to. They did what they had to do. Jimmy Garoppolo went down and they scored, and everybody said, well, it's too much time. What do you want them to do? Not go in the end zone and then risk not scoring with 5 seconds left in the game and the game's over, and then you're like, well, what? We couldn't score in the red zone? So I don't know what you want.
Me and Donald were watching it, and my initial reaction wasn't that, oh my gosh, they scored and they left too much time on the clock, but it was that, damn, that's a lot of time on the clock. Yeah. And for who is that quarterback on the other side? Now, what Donald said, and it made great sense. Donald was like, man, he was like, well, say you go down at the 1 yard line, you risk a false start. You risk a holding penalty that backs you up to the 10. You risk a turnover. You risk all these different things. So you just kind of score and you hope that your defense can hold up. And unfortunately, they just couldn't.
Right. And I saw there were some things on Twitter that I saw. It was after they scored, there was a few people that I think Grant was one of them who said, why not go for 2?
It wouldn't make a difference.
It wouldn't have made a damn difference anyways. That's the reason why you're sitting on the couch. Sorry, Grant, but that's the reason why you're sitting on the couch and you're not coaching the 49ers. Because it wouldn't have mattered anyways. What are you going to go for 2 for? To risk another – maybe a player gets hurt, right? Instead of kicking the damn field goal, it wouldn't have mattered anyways. But that's neither here nor there.
There was another question I saw on here. Dang, I missed it. But, there's a lot of people, man, for a lot of 49er fans are really down on Kyle right now. I'm not. I think that 49ers are going to be in position to win next week. And I feel confident, with saying that with, Jimmy G at quarterback. I would try to work to get Trey Lance in more and get him in-game experiences. Obviously, the goal is to get him ready, even if it's not for this year, get him ready for next year, but he needs those live snaps. So I would like to see that, but I don't know, man. I think if we're having these same conversations week 8, week 9, week 10, then you guys got it. Kyle sucks. Maybe they do need to find somebody else. That would be tough because, you are working to develop, a young, Trey Lance. But if we're having these same conversations in the middle of the season, then yeah. But right now, I'm not going to overreact to a team that has won 2 games. And obviously, like those 2 wins have looked weird against competition that isn't great. We'll see Philly tonight, see exactly how good they are. But I do think in general, there's a lot of panic going on and a whole lot of overreaction to a loss where the 49ers had the lead with 37 seconds left.
And this goes back to welcome to the world of being a competitive, good football team. We could be sitting here. We could be sitting here with the Dolphins and be pissed off at the world like we were in the early 2000s and think that nothing's going to work. But at least we're having these conversations where we're in positions to win games every damn week.
Right. I remember what it was. I saw someone say that Kyle shouldn't be playing these mind games with 21 and 22-year-old kids. And my response to that would be, if you have not been around these kids, like if you haven't been around these young athletes and these professional guys, I'm not saying that you shouldn't speak on it, but it's hard to truly understand the dynamics of coaching some of these younger guys. Like sometimes they need that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't let them keep kind of coasting along doing some of the same things that they're doing or whatever it is, and maybe not preparing to the standards of which you set for them. And you can't let those things slide, because then they start to kind of just feel like they can get away with doing the bare minimum and their play falls off. Kyle Shanahan, one thing I really appreciate, as me being a coach, me being a trainer, and you understand this as well, and you'd understand this, even with your quarterbacks that you're working with and whatnot, you have to hold them to a certain standard, right? Like you set the standard for how we're going to work, how we're going to prepare, and they have to meet that. And if they're not meeting that, it's not really playing mind games with them. It's just you aren't working or preparing to the standard of which we have set for an organization. And at that point, I'm going to go with the person that is upholding that. And at the time, it was Trent Sherfield. Obviously, since then, Ayuk has done good enough stuff to get in the good graces of Kyle Shanahan. I think he played like 70 snaps or whatever last night. Trent Sherfield played 2. So, Kyle is forgiving or whatever the case is, but he's going to hold you to a certain standard, and you have to play to that. Have you kind of dealt with that with maybe some quarterbacks that start to get lazy with certain things, whether it's their mechanics or whatnot, and you have to kind of bring them back in?
Yeah. I think you got to bring them back to reality. It happens a lot, especially with a couple of kids I trained that are getting recruited at a high level. One of the kids that's, depending on the recruiting service you look at, or recruiting source you look at, it's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country. But when it's leadership, right, play on the field, how you're acting off the field, how are you associating with teammates, are you understanding the offense, are you comprehending exactly what the coach wants, all of those things put together. And like you said, with Ayuk, or, it goes back to like that rookie receiver we drafted out of Illinois quite a while ago. It's like couldn't learn the playbook, and we wasted a first-round draft pick on him. I forget his name, but it's like
AJ Jenkins.
Yeah. So we're going to hold those guys. You got to hold them to it. You have to, until proven otherwise, you have to. Because if you give them the reins and they're freestyling things right off the bat, like you got to earn that freestyle. You got to earn the, okay, hey, Tay, go do your own thing on this last drive. Go do it.
Talk about Tay. Devontae Adams that we see today was not that Devontae Adams for like the first 3 years of his career. And there were people questioning if he was ever going to be good or anything. He had drop issues. He had other issues. Like the Devontae Adams we're seeing is like one of the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL right now. He had to go through that. The Packers were lucky because, one, they had Aaron Rodgers, and 2, they had Jordy Nelson. So Devontae Adams can go through his little ups and downs or whatever his case is and be in dog houses or whatever without anybody truly noticing, because they had these other established players. But this isn't something that is just super rare in the NFL, where it's only Kyle Shanahan that's holding his players accountable. No, this happens around the league, and it's on the player to figure it out. Devontae Adams figured it out. Devontae Adams went back to his college receiver coach, Dub Williams, who trained him and who coached him in college, who trains him in the offseason. He had to go back to his roots to start to kind of get back to what made him be a second-round pick and end up obviously now being one of the best receivers in the NFL. But guys have to go through this, and I think because Kyle has kind of had to go through it with Dante Pettis, I think Kendrick Bourne, he had to go through it with him. Kendrick Bourne snapped out of it, and I think he kind of reached his potential and went and got paid somewhere else. Like guys have to go through these situations, but it's on the player to figure it out. And obviously, as a coach, you want to try to figure it out as well, but you have to hold guys to a certain level of expectations, a certain level of standards.
And if it's not the coach that's doing it, because Kyle's a younger coach, obviously, then typically it's the quarterback. He's playing with Aaron Rodgers. Devontae's playing with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be held to a high standard, right? Look at all the people that have gone into the Patriots or to Tampa Bay. Like if you show up there and you're not ready to rock and roll with Tom Brady, get stepping. Like he's going to hold you to a higher standard or just as high of a standard as Bill Belichick would have, right? You better show up and elevate yourself to that level or you're not going to play. And look what Tom Brady did with receivers that a lot of people wouldn't have ever considered probably top receivers anyways. But look at Julian Edelman, what he did. He elevated himself, was a junior college quarterback at San Mateo, right? And then went to Kent State and then goes and plays for Tom Brady and ends up, he's going to be a Hall of Famer likely one day, right? You can toss that one up. But as far as playoffs go, Julian Edelman elevated himself, right? And Tom Brady relied on him to do those things. Yeah. But if you don't, if you don't hold these young guys accountable, because the offenses in college these days are so much easier than what an NFL offense would probably be anyways, from what I see most of the time, you have to hold them accountable. You got to stay on top of them because if not, you're going to let them be too loose and they won't hold themselves to a higher standard either. Like if you got some slap at quarterback and you got a good receiver, the good receiver is going to take advantage of the slot quarterback and do his own stuff anyways. So when you got guys at the top that are holding them accountable for what they're doing on the field and at practice in the film room, etc., that's when I think you're really going to start to see some top play. So I like that Shanahan does it.
Yeah. And, I mean, if you kind of look at it and the results of it right now, right, where Brandon Ayuk was kind of going through that situation and he probably was challenged by Kyle Shanahan to start to prepare a certain way and carry yourself a certain way. And he missed out the first couple of weeks, but got the bulk of the reps this week, scored a touchdown. They went to him. It was a route. It was a corner stop, which definitely that was designed to go to him, and he won on the route. And now it's like, wow, okay, I started to do things the way that I'm supposed to from a professional standpoint. Now I'm having the success. Kyle clearly is believing in me. I'm on the field dang near every snap. He responded well to it, and that's what you want to see from your coach, man.
Right.
All right, but Shoes, man, time to get out of here.
Hold on. I gotta give a shout out though before we leave, Crock. Okay. I gotta give a shout out because I said we do it. And I know Cam Worrell was tweeting at us, but the Fresno State Bulldogs, I'm gonna give them a shout out because I'm here obviously in Clovis, but Jalen Cropper, one of the dudes that comes out and catches for me. He's a receiver at Fresno State, absolutely balling out right now. Jalen's one of those dudes on and off the field, good kid. He'll come out and catch for anybody. And that's the difference that I'll tell these younger guys too is look at the dudes in college that are having success. Look at the guys like that have played in the NFL that are from here, that have even come out for me, like Keyshawn Johnson, played for the Cardinals, now he's on the Eagles. Jalen Cropper is another guy, Damari Scott, but Jalen and Keyshawn, Damari, Isaiah Burst from Modesto, like all those guys are from Fresno State, right? But they would come out and they will catch routes for anybody. 8th graders, 9th graders, college guys, NFL guys, they don't care. They want the work, and it's showing now. When you look at Jalen Cropper, he had 4 touchdowns Friday night, caught the game winner against UCLA. He's caught 10 balls last week. He caught like 14 the week before. Jalen Cropper is absolutely balling out, but then another guy to look at, and you'll get into it with all your draft stuff. Jay Kaner, the Fresno State quarterback, is playing out of his mind right now. One of the funnest teams to watch. They're like the Packers. When you look at it, they can score from anywhere on the field. They have a lot of dudes, a lot of talent around them. Yes, people are going to say, oh, they're in the Mountain West, but watch what they did against Oregon. They turned the ball over a couple times. Otherwise, they're probably beating Oregon at Autzen. But Jay Kaner's playing out of his mind right now. Jalen Cropper and the rest of the receiving corps at Fresno State is killing it. So I wanted to show those guys some love because I know they're not going to get the respect that they're supposed to get.
Well, I'll start looking into them and maybe – Shoes, I just showed love to an FCS quarterback. His name is Eric Smith for Sam Houston.
Okay.
I just watched him in the game. I went to watch one of the kids I work with. He played against UCA, and I'm watching this quarterback, and I'm like, wow, like he's running around, he's making plays with his legs, he's making throws down the field, perfect over the shoulder throws to receivers, threw like 4 touchdowns in the first half. And I talked about him on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. So I'll definitely look into this Fresno State kid and the receivers as well.
And Jalen Cropper. Jalen's only a junior, but he's a speedster. Like pro comp, people are gonna say, "Oh, he's like Devontae. He's gonna be like Devontae." I don't know if he's gonna be that acrobatic Devontae type of guy because he's built more like a Tavon Austin type of dude, where he's gonna run a 4.3 at the combine. Like, he's a burner, but the dude is making plays out of this world right now. He's killing it. So I'm excited to see what Jalen's gonna do, and he's a good kid, one of my good buddies. So I got a lot of respect for his game. But Haener is another guy that is playing out of this world. I think he's top 5 in the Heisman stuff. I know it's only week 3, but top 5 in the Heisman now. So
all right, I'm gonna look into that.
Go check him out.
All right, everybody, man, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button. Also, you guys will be able to catch this on Apple Pods, Crock Talk TV. On there, you'll be able to find it. If you're not already, go ahead, download the app Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Crocky. They'll put an additional $10 into your account. And if you are signed up, I might throw together a little tournament tonight. They do like these one game things where I would draft a team, you draft a team, somebody else draft a team, but we draft it like fantasy. So once I take a player, like that's it, right? And then, you know, who wins at the end of it, and you can win money and whatnot. But Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Crock Talk TV. Everybody that came in here, I appreciate it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Greg, I'm out. Peace.
Appreciate you, Crock.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Crocker. Over midfield, he'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Crock Talk TV podcast. Peace.